Alright, hello. This video is just going to be me sharing my experience getting a ganglion cyst removed. Um, I don't have a lot of pictures and video to show you. I've got a little bit, which I'll show at the end, but mostly this is just going to be me talking about what happened kind of before and after with the whole thing. So bear with me. But basically, I could not find a photo of it before, but I had a marble-sized lump on my wrist right where you see in this picture. And I had it for about a year. And for a lot of people that have these cysts, it's more of a cosmetic thing. You got this ugly-looking lump on you, and for me and for some other people, it actually, I could feel it. It was very painful. If I tried picking up something heavy, it was very difficult to do. If I tried to manipulate something heavy in my hand, it was nearly impossible just because of the amount of pain I would feel. It would rupture from time to time, and that usually helped, but definitely did not make it all better when it would rupture. So what happened was about a year after having it, I finally went to see the doctor. The doctor refers me to the specialist, so I go down there, and in his office he recommends that I go ahead and do this procedure that I had already kind of knew about, where they stick a needle in, they suck all the goo out, and they inject a steroid, and that has kind of a lower success rate, but it can work. And that versus the troubles and risk of surgery is usually what you should try to do. I went ahead and gave it a shot on his advice, and it actually worked great for, I would say, 2 months. I didn't feel it. I thought it was all gone and no big deal. And then sure enough, it came back. So I went ahead and met up with him again, and we scheduled surgery. And that was kind of the tough part. Was it took I think a month and a half or 2 months before I actually had my surgery date. And that was difficult because I had to really baby the thing. I did not want it to rupture right before I went in there. You go in there and it's like, well, where was the thing? He's not going to know where to cut if he can't see it. So sure enough, I'm getting really close to the date, and the thing just starts to wanting to fade away a little bit. It was getting smaller on its own. And I go in there to see him, and he's like kind of looking at it like, oh, you sure you want to do this? And I'm like, yeah. My surgeon was convinced that this thing was just superficial. He didn't seem to believe me when I said that it hurt and was a big problem for me. He kept saying the thing of, you're trading a lump for a scar. Like all I cared about was what it looked like. And so I'm like, no, we're doing this thing. And so he takes a little pen and marks where it's at, which was like, thank God he did that, because we go in there to the surgery room, and what they do is they put a tourniquet around your hand to push all the blood up out of your hand, and then they put one up on your arm, and it cuts off all the blood and eliminates your pulse, and basically your arm is dying at that point, and it feels like it. That was extremely, extremely painful. I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but the needle in the wrist was also a very painful procedure. He warned me about it, and it was about, I don't know, 15 to 30 seconds of pretty intense pain in my wrist. The tourniquet part during the surgery was really brutal. It was practically unbearable at the end. I was really hurting. That I think they offered me propofol or whatever, and I said no, I don't like taking things like that, so I just opted for the local stuff. And so anyways, he gets this thing all deadened up, and all the blood to stop going, which they need to do in order to work cleanly in there. And he grabs my wrist and starts feeling around on the cyst, and sure enough, big old loud pop, which I could hear, and apparently he could hear. I mean, I didn't know if that was something that was really audible or not, but it was a big old loud pop for me. And he had ruptured it while he was feeling around, and he was like, kind of like, oops. And then later on, he's like, so it was like right when he's getting ready to cut into me, He's like, so it was like right here, right? And I was just like, oh my gosh, are you serious? But I knew he had marked it, so I wasn't worried. And I'm like, I don't know. I can't feel anything. And he's like, oh, well, that's a good thing if you can't feel anything. And he proceeds to start cutting away. And he's in there rooting around for quite a while. And the listening to him talk was just very discouraging because he was just like, is this it? Is that it? I don't know. I got something here. I got. You don't want these things to rupture because then it becomes difficult to figure out what the sac was. The sac basically explodes, or at least that's my understanding, and then it's difficult to pull the sac out. So he was rooting around for quite a while, and then he finally kind of gave up and said, I think I got it. And that didn't fill me with confidence, but they stitched it up, and then they wrapped it all up, and when that tourniquet came off, that was quite a relief because I was really struggling to deal with that pain. So if you don't have a high tolerance for pain, I definitely recommend you go with whatever kind of propofol or whatever they want to offer you, because that was definitely difficult. So I leave there, and about 2 weeks later, I think it was, I don't remember the timing on all this, but I basically had a wrap on my wrist that was kind of like a soft cast, and they said they don't want you moving your wrist or anything for, I think it was a good 2 weeks. So afterwards that came off, and this is what I had underneath. So right here what you see, and I think another week or two after that I went and saw the doctor for a follow-up for him to remove this stuff and look at it, and I'll show you that. Okay, so this is me pretty much leaving the doctor's office after he cleaned it all up and took the stitches out. So it was a little lumpy, and obviously I was expecting a scar there. So excuse me. So the thing though was when he removed all that bandages and I got to see where it was, I was pretty annoyed because at the very bottom of the cut was where the cyst was. And I couldn't quite tell what was going on underneath the bandages and stuff, but he cut way, way higher than he should have. And that all goes back to the whole, was it here thing when he was about to cut on me. So I was really worried about it, and sure enough, he did. So I was, of course, not happy and very worried that this thing was just going to come back. And the reason why he was struggling to find it was because he didn't cut in the right spot. But it's been several months now, I'd say 6 months since the surgery, and nothing has come back bump-wise. I still do get some pain there. It's maybe 10% of the pain that I used to have, which I wasn't expecting any. So I don't know what to say about that, but it's not like I never had the problem. And I'll go ahead and show you right now what it looks like after a good 6 months or so of healing. Okay, so this is it right now. It doesn't look really that bad scar-wise, but the way scars work, depending on if it's a cold day or whatever, sometimes you can see it more prominently, but sometimes it's a pretty dark, pinkish, purplish scar right there, but, not too bad. But obviously the main thing is just that I don't have the pain anymore, so, mostly, so pretty happy about that. All right, I hope that helped. If you're considering getting this removal surgery or what you want to do about it. All right, bye-bye.